Wanna ride with me, catch a vibe with me, go get out with me, yeah. Shawty, I'm a riding G, I'm a dying piece, I'm a ride.
How to drop a JDAM in 2 minutes. Turn on the master arm. Push air to ground. Down here, make sure you've got SMS selected. Then click inventory. And then click power on. Wait for the A10 to go down to ready. Now it's ready. We need to push here for viz mode. Then we're going to push this button on the radar cursor switch down. And then we're going to be pushing the target management switch up to select the ground. Target is over there. Radar switch down. And then once you're over the target area, to select. We're just pushing the target management switch up to select. Once you've done that, we need to make this soy. Go into here, and you're going to be pushing display management switch down. We'll go into here, FLCS, TGP, then pushing that down switch to make this soy. Then we're pushing narrow, and then make sure that you go back over to here, click on pre to change it to pre, and then you can use the radar control switches. So again, I'm going back and I'm just using these switches, radar control switch left, right, up and down to move it around. When I find my target on the ground, I can push target management switch up. To zoom in and out, I can use MAN RNG knob CW and MAN RNG knob CCW. We're going to make it soy. Move it around. Find our target by zooming in, and then select it with the point track. Just fly at your target. When this line comes down to there, we can release the bomb. You can also tell if it's in this bracket what button to push. You're going to be pushing this button on the joystick. Weapon release button, depress. Hold down the depress button. Bomb will release. Now just circle the target. Destroy the target. Great job. To drop a GBU, turn on master arm, turn on your laser, click on air to ground. Go down to here, make sure you've got the SMS page loaded, inventory, and you've got the GBU selected. Click up here, CCIP, and change it to CCRP. Next, make sure that we've got the TGP selected, and then we need to make that soy. To make that soy, we're going into selecting display management switch down. Display management switch down. Now we want to click this OVRD button once and then twice. It'll center it. Then look up here, and you'll notice if we move it around, we've got a little box here. We need to put that box above the target. So click that twice, then find your box, move the box above the target area, roughly where you think it is, and then look over here. Zoom in with narrow, and then you can move it around. To zoom in, you can use MAN RNG knob CW. Zoom in. and then simply push target management switch up. You have a point track. Now simply fly at your target. You can see the countdown here, 150. You can hold down the two buttons. One, you want to push the weapon release button, depress, and you also want to push the camera gun trigger button. This will fire the laser. You will also need to turn on or make sure you've got the laser arm armed. Let's do this. Time to drop here, 21 seconds. Distance, 3.1 out. 18, 19, 17. This line will come down very soon. All we need to do is hold that button down for the weapon and to fire the laser. Hold it down. It's coming down. Hold it down. You can see it fire from that wing. And you'll know that we're firing the laser because there's a little flashing L there. Hey and welcome. I'm just going to take you on a little training flight with me. I'm going to drop on a GBU-12 and I'm also going to drop on a GBU-38 JDAM. So we've have both of those on the plane. Click OK and get that started. And meanwhile, I'll quickly show you all of my controls. Everything you need to know is radar switch up, down, left and right. You need to know what display management switch up is, display management switch down is, man RNG knob CCW, man RNG knob CW. You'll also need to know what you've got set to target management switch up and your weapon release button, depress, and also your camera gun trigger first detent. That's the one which fires your laser. But I'll go through this in a little bit more detail as we go along. In the meanwhile, we're getting those bombs put on the plane, so that's cool. We'll go down to here and we'll just hit our battery and then I'll click on start 2. I'll close the canopy, left control and C, we can close that. I'll scroll these two up and then I'm just going to go down to here. I'm going to click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and just put it onto stored heading. These three I'm just going to click on 1, 2 and 3. This is the important one for the TGP, the little device down here. We can see the GBU-12s on the plane and we can see the GBU-38s on the plane. So that is all good. You can see my FPS on the left there of the screen. I can lock the canopy. We can click this for no reason. What we need to do now is we need to use right, shift and home, which will move that throttle forward. And that will finish the rest of the process for starting up the plane. And then we'll get these screens coming up for us. I can turn on the lighting a little bit. We'll just put on brightness, put it on to steady, and we'll change it to A. Everything else is fine. We can put on our parking brake by right clicking once there just to hold it a bit more steady. That'll be handy. I'm going to scroll this around. Now what we can see up in the top right here is this number coming down, the 94. When that gets to 10, we can then switch this over here to nav. Right click and put it onto nav. That's all we have to do for the INS. Over here we're going to click on master arm on. I'm going to click on this button here and then I'm going to click on TGP and it's off at the moment. You can get rid of this. This here is the one for the right, that's the one for the left. At the moment it is on the right, so just make sure you've got this switched on and then eventually this will come on. Other thing we can do is I can click air to ground, go down to here and I'm going to click on SMS and then I'm going to have a little think about what I want to do. I thought I was in air to ground mode. Yep, I'm in air to ground mode. Master arms on. inventory. Great. Then we've got GBU-38, and what we want to click is the power on button. If you want to swap between the weapons, you can click here, GBU-12, GBU-38, and click on power on. When that A10 gets all the way down, it will say ready, then that's all ready to go. What we're really just waiting on now is this, INS. What I don't understand is it's not doing very much. Quite confusing. Off, and then put it back to stored heading. We'll see if it's moving now. 97, 96, 95, 94, that's a lot better. The HUD's here, we'll just move our view up a little bit. To move myself around, I am using the Tobii Eye tracker. I'm using these controls, cockpit camera move up, down, left and right. So I'm using that to move around. I can do left and right physically by just moving my body in real life. So I do have that option. And I've also got set up, if you're wondering, cockpit camera move back and cockpit camera move forward. So I can do that as well, just on my throttle. So I'm just using, if I want to look at something down here which I can't quite read, then I can just use this to move myself around. And then I can look at down there and back again, however I need. So there's that. And then in real life I can lean, so I can look around, that's just moving my head, or I can actually use the physical control. So I have both available to me as an option. Sometimes you want to not lean all the time in real life, you just want to stay here and don't move. So it's good to have both options for that reason. Okay, I am a little bit too far back at the moment for what I want, so I want it about there, which is a lot better for me. And that's all good. We can put this back because we can have it back. This is finished soon. It's on 30, 28, 27, and then we'll get the plane moving. You can see all our bombs are in the plane. It's a pretty clean setup, just 2 bombs. Parking brake is switching off for some reason, but that's okay. It says ready. So we will now go to right click, and it's on nav mode, and that's all finished. So we're going to push S on the keyboard for nose wheel steering. I'm going to take off that parking brake, and then just give it a tiny little bit of throttle. Plane will start moving. If you want to get this plane moving, just give it a little bit of throttle and then throttle back, and then that way you won't go too fast. I do have rudder pedals, don't have them connected. This is, as I say, not really a tutorial, I'm just taking you on the training flight with me, but I'd rather explain what I'm doing because then you can get a lot more out of the video if you're trying to learn and work out how to do JDAMs. Really cool little plane, this one. Maybe a good plane to start with, some people would say. If you're interested in the F-16, I'd say absolutely, because any plane you're interested in, you're going to be more interested to know all the nitty-gritty. They are working on it, I understand, quite extensively at the moment, going forward, so this plane's going to get a bit of attention and start getting more completed. Still some things to add, like time on target. I think it'll get an auto lays function. Definitely some functions I probably will never use or learn about, but that's the cool thing, there's always more to learn. At the moment, you can at least do a little bit with the plane. It's very functional. Alright, we'll spin it around. Line ourselves up on the runway, we'll just put it in the sky. And I'll talk a little bit more about the controls. Okay, there we go. I'm leveled up, take the nose wheel steering off. And we'll give it a little bit of throttle. I'm not doing full afterburner here, it's just a little bit of throttle. I'm doing barely enough to get it in the sky. It's not perfectly weighted either, and I'm not using rudder pedals, just using the buttons on the keyboard. A little bit easier for me at the moment. I'm going to pull back on the joystick, it will lift off gently, and I'm going to try and stay very close to the ground as I take off. So pushing G on the keyboard to bring that gear up, then pushing the nose down to stay very close to the ground. And I'll just let it gather speed. You can save probably a little bit of fuel taking off this way if you have a really long flight to do. You don't particularly have any need to gain altitude. In this case I don't. Our target's over there towards the smoke, but we'll just keep flying this way a little bit and level ourselves up. Cool. So some things. So we've got our target over there. So what would be the first thing I would do to get ourselves ready from this point to target it? Well, my first thing is we're got to change this to Viz. So I'm going to click here to Viz. You can tell this is soy, or the center of interest, because the little stars there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this gets turned on. So I just want to click on FCD, FCR, click on TGP, and we can tell that's on. Great. And then I'm going to click on OVRD up here twice, which will center it. So that's all now centered. Then the next step for me is to start moving this around. So what I'm going to start pushing on the keyboard or the joystick or whatever is this radar cursor switch down. I'm going to be pushing that button basically and use the up, down, left and right buttons. Then once I'm above the target area, I'm going to push this target management switch up. So let's go back to this. I'm going to move it around. So you can see I'm moving this little cursor around, just bringing it into the center a little bit. And then I'm going to try and point my plane towards the target area. Probably a few seconds away before I want to do that, so I'll keep flying out this way for now. And once I'm above it, I'm pushing target management switch up. There's the target area. Keep flying along. The laser's not on for this because we don't need it. It's a JDAM. You could set up all this other stuff if you wanted to. You could set different profiles. You can click on and set it up, but I don't need to do that. Alright, so our target area is over there. Using that radar switch again, put it over the target area and then push that select button and you now get a line. I'll then point myself off the target area just a little bit, bring my throttle back a little bit, and I'm going to start using this. Now I need to make this soy, so to do that I'm going to be pushing display management switch down. So, and then I need to zoom in. One thing I can do is I can click on narrow, but I can also go further. I can now push MANRNG knob CW. So if I do that, zoom in, well, I can then find our target. What I want to do now is I just want to change this to pre-mode, so this will get more finite control. Then I want to make this soy. Hover above my target, and I'm just pushing on the target management switch up. Got a point track. That's good. If we want to get a little bit more accurate, I suppose we can move it above the target. That looks pretty good to me. It's point tracked. It's in pre-mode, so make sure it's in pre-mode. It's kind of an important step because if you're going to overfly it like I am now, when you come back around, it'll lose the target. But in this case, because it's in pre-mode, it won't lose the target. You'll notice when we come back around, it will still have that target there. So that's all good. I'll move my view up a little bit. So we'll just keep flying out. We can see the distance we are from the target with this number down here, the 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. There'll be some additional information in here telling us the time to drop the bomb soon, but we're not there yet. Just when we come back around, just make sure it is pointing at the target. That's the only thing really with the JDAM. So we're 4.6, 6.6, I can bring it out to about 11, 12, something like that. Speed is still really high. I'm going to keep bringing that throttle back. You can see over my wings here, there's the GBU-12 and the GBU-38 on that wing. Very cool. 9.7, 9.8, we'll just gently start spinning it around. 11, 12 will come up pretty soon. We're at 7,000, that's good. There's the 12. Now we'll begin to spin it around. It'll give us maybe about a minute to get ready to drop it and line ourselves up. Get ourselves ready to drop the bomb. The only final step now that I'm going to be pushing is all I'm doing is flying the plane around towards the direction, and I'm pushing this button, weapon release button depress. That's it, that's the final step. That's all I need to do at this point. So if you're wondering how hard JDAMs are, well, that's how hard they are. That's all the steps. I'm not trying to tell you anything that you don't need to know to be able to drop the JDAM. So we're leveling it up. We can see it's about 50 seconds away. 47, 46, 45. We're 10 out. So I'm just going to line ourselves up with this line, and then a little white thing here will come down, and then we'll drop the bomb. We can hold down the trigger. It won't release until it's at the right time. You can also see this here showing the time period when you can drop it. So 15 seconds away. Keep moving it left a little bit. We're a little bit too far out still. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we can look over our wing. We can see the GBU-12 there. And it's dropped out now. Here's my trim. We can see the targets there. Here's our bomb. It's got a little way to go. We'll swing off left a little bit, and then we'll try and circle around right because the targeting pod is there. Will give us a bit of a chance to still keep an eye on it. So there is our target area down there. I'll just try and spin around right a little bit and then click on this, altitude hold. How many it's time to 15 seconds to impact, 13 seconds to impact. We can zoom out a little bit. That's perfect. Here's our bomb. Looks okay. Not great, but it looks okay. There we go. And if we have a look here at a picture, it says critical damage and some fire. So we pretty much hit it just next to the target there. And that's the JDAM. So now we want to just do the GBU-12. We're going to swap our weapon type, so we're going to click up here to GBU-12. I'm going to change this, clicking here to CCRP. And then we need to go find our target. So we're going to keep spinning it around because we need to keep an eye on the target area. I'm going to spin it around a little bit aggressively and then level out the wing. I think I would have turned off the autopilot by doing that just then, or maybe not. There we go, altitude hold, that will do. You can have a little look down here, and then we're going to, whoop, got to make this soy. So we're going to make it soy, and then use the cursors to move it around. Oh my god. We lost our sight of it. Keep spinning around. There we go. Looks a little bit better. We can go back down to here, move cursor around. See if I can zoom out, touch. I can find a target here. Zoom in, and then point track. Okay, we've got a point track on him. The code is 1688, and if you use right shift and K, you can see the code on the bomb, on the weapons. 1688. That's all good. And we can see our distance out from it. Down here, where it says 5.3, 5.4, so we don't kind of want to, probably not going to drop it just at the moment. I'll head out a little bit further out this way, and then we'll come in. Just check that you've got the plane in trim, you've got something that's level, otherwise you can just fly it straight with your joystick if you want. Point, because in a few moments you're going to drop this bomb anyway, so it's not really going to matter if you trim it. If you're already centrally balanced, then it's not going to matter too much. That's switching off because I'm manually flying it all the time. Keep flying straight. To make that sensor of interest, again, all I'm doing is this. Display management switch down, and then to move it around, I'm using the radar cursor switches up, down, left and right. And then when I find my target, I'm pushing target management switch up. I think with that information, you should have enough information to be able to work out how to do this. Heaps of guides out there. This is just a training flight for me. You can also get to see what the FPS is like before the patch from AMD with DCS. Should you upgrade to Windows 11? Well, I don't see any reason not to past this next week, especially if you've got an AMD chip, because hopefully all the problems will be fixed. We're around about 8 out now, so I'll just keep flying forwards for a little bit. Look over my wing, you can see it down there is the target area. Still staying about 7,000. Only different thing here really is when I'm going to hold down the weapon, I'm going to push on weapon release button, but I'm going to keep pushing it button for camera, gun, trigger, the first detent. You need to be having that as well. So that's really all that's different. That's to fire the laser. I'll spin it around. We're about 9.8 out. We'll have a few moments to get it leveled up and then we can get ourselves ready to drop the bomb. We do have to make sure that we keep on target with this one because we've got to fire the laser. So unlike the other one where it's sort of just drop it and then you can fly off and do something else, you can't with this. You have to still be on line with the target. So having a slower speed will probably help if you're learning. You'll notice I'm a little bit slower. We've got 1:13 before we have to drop. Just going to keep using my trim to try and help me. Just make sure after you spun around you really do have your target. So I got my target there. I got 55 seconds to get myself leveled up with this line. You can hold the button early, it will not release it. So you can see I'm pretty much perfectly level now with that. I'll lose that again. There's my GBU-12. I'll look over the wing. So if I hold it down at the moment, you'll notice nothing released. I'm holding it down now, and you'll notice I need to put on the laser arm switch. That's the other thing. We've got 17 seconds to get it lined up. There we go. We're lined up. Holding down the trigger. Holding down the trigger. I'm holding it down all the way. It's released. Now I've got to keep it held down. That L on the bottom left there, that's flashing. That means we're pointing the laser at the target. I'm going to briefly have a look at the bomb. We'll keep having a look at this. You can zoom it out a little bit if you want. I'll try and spin it around right to keep us. There we go. We hit the target dead on. Destroyed. And down there we can see a couple of extra holes in the ground. Let's bring this back and quickly land. We've just got to trim it up because we've dropped that bomb now. That's level. If you want to check on your tanks, you can go to external center and you can look down here. You can see if there's any fuel left in it. It looks like there's a tiny little bit of fuel left in it still. Go back to norm. And then I'll swap it around to external center. So anyway, we'll wait on that one. Well, we don't need to. If you want to jettison it, you can click on S and J, click on center, this button here for center, which is the TCK free one, tank 300. And then all you need to do is push your weapon release button. So I just go and push my weapon release, get rid of the tank, that's gone. That won't hit anyone on the bottom, that will be fine. And yeah, all good. So that's gone. Got 106 FPS at the moment. We can get ourselves ready for landing, turn off air to ground on. That's off, that's cool. I can go down to here and click on right click for DED data, give me a little bit more information down here. Ground speed, all that sort of stuff. Could also move my view up if I wanted to be able to see it a bit more. I can turn off the TGP. This I don't really need anymore. Just put it on the HSD. We'll see if we can find a runway down there. Can anyone see a runway? I know there is a very short runway around here, so I'm not sure where I want to land, but it'll probably land over at this one here, the Ramar David. So we'll go with that. Got 2 bombs and 2 targets hit. There's that runway down there. This is a really short one. You can land on it, but you have to be prepared to stop very quickly. Come in very slowly. Very cool, although you probably come in off the ocean, very cool to come the other direction because you get to see those 2 big tanks there as you come in for your landing. Bringing my altitude down a little bit. I don't know, we'll change flashing to something else, put it on B mode. And our gear is not down, of course, at the moment. It's changed to Cat 1, that's just fine. The sounds in this plane are pretty good. If you have an interest in the F-16, definitely consider getting it. If you haven't done JDAMs yet, it's not too hard. Definitely give it a go. But my training mission was okay. I just wanted to see if I could hit any targets. That's really my objective here. I'll take you along with me. Okay, we've got a runway down there. I reckon we can make it actually. So, if you want to get your air brakes out, left shift and B. Bring out the air brakes. If you want to lose speed, you can just pull like this. Turn right, pull. It'll just bleed off your airspeed very quickly, and I'm almost ready to put a gear out that quickly. But it'll gain a bit of speed as I come down in altitude now. Just moving around physically in the real world, so I can get myself ready for this landing. 235. Once I put the gear out, it'll slow down heaps. I'll actually have to give it throttle. I'm hoping the gear will come out. There we go. So now I'm going to have to actually give it throttle just to keep it alive until we reach the runway. Just want to center my view up a little bit if I can. There we go. Cool. We're down. I'm not going to do any nose air braking because we're so slow, it's not necessary. Just tap your brakes. we're down. Just put on my nose wheel steering, AR and WS. If I really wanted to practice landing, I would be using rudder pedals. It's very, I would say, difficult. Yeah, you can do it with the keyboard, but it's very difficult to really want to be serious when you're using the keyboard with this plane. But it can be done, totally can be done, as you can see. There's my plane. We'll try and pull into one of these hangars over here. I don't know if we can actually go sideways through them. No, you can't. Alright. It would have been cool just to spin it around so it was pointing back out again. Because if you go in like this, there's no kind of reverse. Microsoft Flight Simulator has a way to sort of reverse your plane out, but you can call up the ground crew, but you don't have that with this. Maybe something they could add one day. But otherwise, that's pretty cool. Just need to zoom in and I can see my plane there. I'll put on my parking brake. There we go. I'll open up my canopy because I can. I'll hit to take off the throttle. Canopy's open. We're all good. I can turn my battery off. That's a really, really quick shutdown. But it works. Safely on the ground. 2 bombs delivered. Training mission worked. I think I've got some basic idea how I could drop the bomb. Definitely could improve, but it was successful. So maybe you would find that helpful. And you can also see what the FPS is like with a 5950X and a 3080. We're definitely still looking for more FPS. It's only on air cooling, it's not on water cooling, so that's the first thing that has to happen. And that will happen, but I just can't do that at the moment. So air cooling it is. But we're back on the ground safely in our hangar from all the way from takeoff to landing. I do prefer when people show everything from the takeoff to the landing. If you just do a short video, it can be helpful, but definitely when I'm actually looking for the videos, I'm looking for that full flight where they show everything. That way I can sort of go through it and make sure I haven't missed anything, because sometimes if you haven't worked out a step, it can be difficult. But we did go through all the controls. I kept going in and showing you what button we're pushing. I find that really helpful rather than just saying it. If you just say it, don't know what the button is that you're talking about, you can jump into the controls and look for it and you still don't know. So yeah, we're looking for, you're always looking for what I have currently in use. That's what I'm trying to show you. Radar cursor switch down, up, left and right, and then you need to know what your trim buttons are. Trim button down, up, left and right ring down. Then you also want to know what your display management switch down is, display management switch up is, MAN RNG knob. This is for the zoom, CCW, and then CW, those buttons. You also want to know what your target management switch up is to select it. To release the weapon, WPN REL button depress, and then also the camera gun trigger first detent. We want to know what that is as well. That's for the laser. That's the laser one. It took me a little while to work out and understand what nerf is being used for the laser, but that is the button being used for the laser. So that's all of that. And that's all you really need. With the Tobii eye tracker, I am also additionally just using cockpit camera move up, down, left and right. And then I'm also using, not on my joystick, but on my throttle, just camera move forward and camera move back. So that's the extra things I'm using. But if you have all of that set up, then you can kind of begin to work out how to do this. And that will let you drop both bomb types. Lots more to learn with this plane. Cool little module. It can get overwhelming when you have lots of different modules and they're all different. And then you take 3 months off and come back to it, and trying to remember a plane can be pretty difficult. So you just need to refresh all the time to sort of understand what you're needing to do. But of course, if you've done it in the past, you can pick it up pretty quickly. I didn't turn on any of that, as you can see. Maybe in the future we can move this to the other side or under the wings or something. I don't know. There's some changes maybe to happen with this plane. But it's really cool in its current form. I think it's okay. This is a really cool skin. Great work there. There's heaps of them that you can choose from just from the user files. But yeah, this is cool. Thank you for that. Just looking around so you can see how the Tobii Eye Tracker works. And then that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.